It's always fun to listen to Todd McShay, Mel Kiper over at ESPN talk about draft status. And Todd McShay has one of the stronger takes I've seen him have in a long time, and it happens to be about Nakobe Dean, the linebacker at Georgia who was everywhere last season as a middle linebacker for the Dogs. And Quay Walker is also mentioned quite a bit. Channing Tindall was another linebacker for Georgia. I mean, they had a lot of speed at linebacker, but Nakobe was the guy that got the most attention. And now there's some discussion that he will fall out of the first round of the NFL draft. And Tom McShay talks about this when he's talking about Nakobe Dean, and he realizes he's ahead of. I mean, he thinks he's positioned Dean higher than a lot of folks do. And he talks about it. Here's what Tom McShay had to say. I have a higher grade than most people on Nakobe Dean. I think he's one of the top 20 players in this draft, maybe top 15. There is concern about the arm length and speed and concern about measurables not matching up to production that he had in college. He said, but I'm going to die on the Dean Hill, and that's fine with me. I'm going to have him ranked too high. He's going to get drafted way lower than I rank him. He says that he's the best defender on that team on every single game is Nakobe Dean. There's a legit chance that he doesn't get drafted in the first round, and that blows my mind. Let's talk just for a second about Nakobe. Let's remember that he won the Arthur Ashe Award, or he was a finalist. I'm pretty certain he won that award. That's a big deal. He won the Buckus Award in 2021. He was a first team All American for the AP, Walter Camp, American Football Coaches Association, Sporting News, USA Today, ESPN, and CBS. He was a captain. He was on the American Football Coaches Association Good Works team. And that's great. And a lot of the critics of players, not just Nakobe, will point out that college awards don't necessarily equal professional production. And the truth is, if they did, Tim Tebow would still be a quarterback. No one cares about what you did in college. If you can't do what the NFL needs you to do, then your value is not as high as when other folks can do. Other folks. But his production at Georgia is not insignificant at all. And he, in a way, saved his best for last. His biggest game in terms of production was a 2020 game against Florida where he had 15 tackles. Every other game that he had his superlatives in, they came in this most recent season. He had at least 2 tackles for loss in 4 games, but the most recent one was the Michigan game. He had 2 sacks in the Clemson game in 2021. He had 5 quarterback pressures against Michigan in 2021, and he had an interception against the Gators and Auburn, both those in 2021. He led the team with 11 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup against Tennessee. I mean, he has one of the longer accomplishment sections in his individual uh, part of his bio. But I think there's a reason, there's got to be a reason why he's not sticking in the first round for whatever reason. I mean, people will say his arm length. I don't know if they're talking about him not being as tall as some folks would like. He's certainly not extremely long. Um, th- we see this a lot. I'm not a scout, but I watch a lot of high school football kids. I go out and watch them, and a lot of times you'll get that parent or coach who says, folks are really missing out on this kid. This kid's really productive. This kid's this, but he doesn't fit the prototypical size or whatever you want to call it for college. And that's the problem. There's a reason why colleges recruit who they recruit. And there's a reason why Nakobe is in the position he's at in the NFL. One real big problem here is that linebackers are not valued the way they once were. They're a lot like running backs. Um, and when Todd McShay, I don't know if Nakobe has become like his pet project this draft season or not or what. I would be concerned about, I guess durability would be one way to put it. But he's not huge like a lot of the guys that you see play linebacker in the NFL. I mean, Alec Ogletree, for instance, is much larger than Nakobe Dean. Trying to think of, I mean, Leonard is not the same position, Leonard Floyd, but Leonard's length is insane. And of course, he's an outside linebacker. But, you know, the one thing that is obvious to anyone that talks to Nakobe Dean is his intelligence. Just straight off the bat, an intellectual. He just happens to play football, and you don't get a lot of that. The Stinchcombs are a good example of that, but you don't get a lot of that. I mean, his major was mechanical engineering, so um, I think to me, in terms of a locker room guy, Nakobe, it's going to be hard to get better than him. I'm not smart enough to know whether he will really perform in the NFL. I don't know. I'm seriously. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know that. I can't see into the future. And there is a big difference between getting a guy in the first round and the second. Second round, in a way, as a player, if you know you're going to perform, you'd almost rather be in the second round because you don't have that 6 year hanging over your head with a franchise in your 6 year, a 5th year option for the team. It's you can get free from your first contract quicker. But there's always, ego. We all have egos, and of course, he thinks he should be one of the top 32 guys drafted. But you're getting multiple things going at once, and NFL guys, NFL scouts, NFL folks. It seems to me once they get it in their head that something's a particular way, they all kind of start thinking the same way. There is a fair amount of groupthink in the NFL. And once guys start sliding, that there can be any number of reasons why they slide. I think what's going on right now is that there is either someone who really wants Nakobe Dean in the first round and doesn't want somebody else to get him, so they're playing the long game by knocking him down as much as they can, and they're going to get him at 16 or 20, or this is a real thing, and there are just so few spots that in the basics of supply and demand of the NFL draft, if they don't need you, they're not taking you. And that could be a real issue for Nakobe. And I think thirdly, they're concerned with his size. I'm saying it. I'm not hating on him. I mean, I've seen this guy play for 3 years. We went to his commitment ceremony. There weren't a lot of people out there that thought he was going to Georgia, but we were there. This kid is legit. This man is legit, you know. Um, but I'm not smart enough to know whether his body will stick with the rigors that is the NFL. Um, we can't know that. Alec Ogletree, yeah, and that's why he's been in the league for what 10 years. Thomas Davis, people like that, you could see it. With Nakobe, I think that folks are going to say, are we really going to get our value out of drafting him here? I don't know. I know this. When I flip through DAWGSTRUCTION, there's a lot of pictures of Nakobe Dean in here. There's a lot of pictures of Nakobe Dean. He made a lot of plays for Georgia, and he is a guy that forced the biggest play at the beginning of the season. There's Nakobe down there. Christopher Smith taking that ball to the house. He is one of the main reasons why Georgia won the national championship. Might not be the main reason, but that people got to take their red glasses off when they're talking about the NFL. And the league, there's got to be a happy medium, right? The league sometimes can punish folks. Sometimes it seems like a little too hard, but there's a method to the madness. And, guys get drafted in the first round usually work out better than guys in the third, fourth, fifth, and beyond. Please keep your Tom Brady's to yourself. He's not normal. He's no more normal than Bo Jackson was, right? Or Deion Sanders. They're once in a generational, once in a Tom Brady's getting on close to 2 generations, but once in a lifetime people. Is Nakobe Dean that? I'm asking. I don't know. Todd McShay thinks he's a very good player, and he was ready to die on a hill for him. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at UGA Red Zone this weekend.